And Doreen, could you lead us in the pledge this morning? Thank you. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Phil, why don't we start with you and we just go around the room and introduce ourselves.
Phil Henderson, Starlight Cruises in South Pasadena, Madeira Beach, and Clearwater.
Good morning, Mike Williams. Mike Williams, Managing Director, Innisbrook Golf Resort.
Good morning, Michael Sauce, County Attorney's Office.
Dave Eggers, Commission. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Steve Hayes, Visit St. Pete, Clearwater.
Good morning, Russ Kimball, Sheraton Sankey, Clearwater Beach.
Frank Hibbard, Mayor of Clearwater.
Doreen Moore, Travel Resort Services, TRS in Madeira Beach and all of our beach communities.
Good morning, Chuck Prather, the Birchwood and Teak, downtown St. Petersburg.
Well, good morning, everybody. And as you can see, we have one seat that's open, and we have 3 others that couldn't be here this morning. As that's what happens when you shift a Wednesday meeting to a Tuesday. We lose some folks, but so we're going to have 8 of us. I think Melinda's still going to join us here shortly. But sorry for getting a little bit late. It seemed like there was a lot of good conversation going on, and we don't get a chance to see each other that often, so it's kind of nice to be able to visit a little. And wanted to thank Robin and her team for that luncheon that we had earlier this month, and it seemed the same thing there. It was just packed, and people were excited to see each other again and visit and have some fun and also do the business of tourism for the county. But in any event, with that said, we'll go on to the approval of the TDC minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay. Any comments or questions on them? Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And since about 5 minutes ago, have we had anybody sign up for comments? Okay, well, thank you. No public comments, so we'll jump right into sales and marketing updates. Mr. Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm going to turn it over to Leroy real quickly to introduce our first presenter, Aaron Francis Cummings with Destination Analyst. But Leroy, I'll let you kick that off.
Thank you, Steve. Morning, Commissioner. Morning, Board. Just to reiterate what Steve said, the plan is to continue for her to join us once a quarter to review our latest and greatest visitor profile research from the quarter previous. So she's going to be reviewing Q1 of this year, as well as looking forward at what the forecast, at least through their minds, taking in a number of different indicators to give us an idea of what the future holds. And then for the foreseeable future, at least for a little bit, still maybe share some of the more relevant insights from some of their COVID sentiment research. So as a reminder, Destination Analyst is our contracted research firm. So with that, Aaron, bright and early, 6 a.m. San Francisco time. We always appreciate your time. Take it away.
Thank you.
Thank you so
welcome, Aaron.
Thank you. I am hoping to be there next time. All right. Thumbs up. Can someone just say the screen looks okay? Just want to do a double check. Looks like it. I can see in the video. All right. I will get started. Thank you for having me here virtually. As a reminder, my company is a market research firm. We serve the global travel and hospitality industry with insights into audiences, brand, and marketing performance through expertly designed research. And while our experience and work may be global, you can find our smiling teams of surveyors out around Pinellas County happily asking visitors about their experience. I just want to say again how proud we are to be able to manage the tourism research program on behalf of your county and your beautiful destination. So thank you. The findings on the outlook for travel, Pinellas County's visitor profile and tourism performance and forecast that I'll be sharing with you today are a product of our independent, unbiased research, which we produce as a third party. I'm going to start with an update on national travel trends that impact the traveling consumer mindset. Focus on the impacts of the pandemic that are still lingering, as well as those that are fading away. And then I'm going to recap who visited Pinellas County in Q1 of this year, as well as the economic impact that they left behind. And then I will finish with the forecast for the remainder of the year. So I'll start with an update on national travel trends. This is from our ongoing coronavirus travel sentiment index. And for the last 62 weeks, we've conducted an online survey of 1,200 Americans to produce this index and report. And it provides measures and understanding of how Americans are thinking, feeling, and approaching their decision-making when it comes to travel. And we survey new travelers each week, and it is weighted to reflect the actual national traveling population. And just want to start with, look what has been accomplished. From 70% of Americans literally afraid of travel a year ago, and now 77% saying their mindset when it comes to travel is ready. And that's up 25 percentage points just since the start of the year. And with that, I want to show you how summer 2021 is shaping up in the minds of Americans. So summer vacay is on. 71.6% of American travelers say they will take a summer vacation or getaway. And that's up nearly 10 percentage points from what they were reporting in March. So I expect that number to continue to go up. It's up nearly 36 percentage points over 2020. And looking at the months summer travelers are heading out, July continues to be the peak, followed by August. And it looks like 1 in 5 American travelers are going to be headed out for Labor Day weekend as well. And when we look at the average number of summer trips Americans plan to take by generation, age is clearly a factor when it comes to trip volume, with our millennial and younger travelers planning to go out more this summer compared to older travelers. And when it comes to activities on summer trips, you will be finding travelers out in restaurants, on your beaches, and shopping in your retail stores again. And when it comes to who they'll be traveling with, well, the significant other is, of course, the most common. Just wanted to point out how much family travel is anticipated this summer, from being with kids to grandparents, even pets coming along on trips this summer. And that's really consistent with what we've just been seeing on how people are valuing spending time with their family, and travel is the way to do that. Florida remains on top of where Americans say that they are heading to this summer as well. So that's great for you all. But I think the more fascinating and important factors coming out of this is how the pandemic has changed us. Destination analysts, we've tried to get the travel industry out ahead of the big paradigm shifts in beliefs and behaviors. And this is something that we're really trying to look into. So while travel planning and trip expectations for the near term increasing seemingly every day, it does appear right now that Americans are emerging from the pandemic with a far less freewheeling attitude towards travel. So while we may be happy to spend time together and be out doing normal things, we're seeing that there may be higher budget, safety, and destination consciousness being likely in the mindset for the future. So compared to how they were before, for over 45% of American travelers say they're now more budget conscious as a traveler, and that's much higher than the 8.6% that say they're now less budget conscious because of the pandemic. The biggest change, and I know this seems obvious on the surface, but it's something that I hope thought is put into, because I think it says a lot about our customers right now and the lens through which they're looking at the travel experience. So compared to their pre-pandemic selves, 3/4 of American travelers say they're now more safety conscious, compared to only 5.4% who say they are less safety conscious when they're traveling. And the vigilance on safety does have a fear element in it. 58% say they now walk around on their trips with an elevated concern that something could go wrong. And just 11% say they're less concerned now that something will go wrong on their trips. The pandemic also disrupted trust in travel information, although fortunately American travelers are more likely to say that the pandemic has left them more trusting in information sources available to them about travel than less trusting. And travelers say the pandemic has changed them in other ways, and I think it's really fascinating to see the degrees to which. So we had them use 7-point interest scale and rate their level of interest in each of several travel experiences. And this chart is showing you the percent who are more interested in these experiences compared to those who are now less interested because of the pandemic. Careful trip planning, that's going to be more likely to be important to travelers in the post-pandemic world. Nearly 40% say they're now more into this behavior. There's also considerably more interest in being close to nature, visiting friends and relatives, and experiencing outdoor activities, going off the beaten path, and traveling America's scenic byways. More interest is also seen in dining in restaurants and culinary experiences now, as well as arts and culture. But as was realized early on, the pandemic has most challenged growing the customer bases for amusement parks, cities, and cruises. So those have more dramatic declines in terms of interest loss versus interest gain. Again, that's it for attracting new customers. I think the existing customers are happy to be back out there doing those things, but something to keep in mind. So let's look at what's ahead for travel and the ways that this global catastrophic event is both staying with us and how it's retreating. Starting with how we're seeing the pandemic lingering in consumer decision making. When we asked travelers why they're not planning to travel even more this summer, the top two cited reasons were directly pandemic related, concerns about contracting COVID, and the fact that the pandemic is not completely over. And then on the other side, we have over a third giving reasons around pandemic protocols, such as vaccine or testing requirements and protocols that they felt were too tedious or restrictive. We also saw in our research this past week growing economic concerns among American travelers. In fact, when we asked about the recent volatility with gas, 16% said that this had made them reconsider or cancel upcoming travel already. Hopefully, we'll see that come back around. The shortened booking windows we saw during the pandemic, that also looks to be hanging on as well. 45.7% agree they're going to be booking closer to the start of their trip than they would normally. You'll see that coming up in your visitor profile. In fact, with the exception of airfare, over 40% are going to be making bookings for the major tenets of their trip less than 4 weeks out. Also, a sense that the travel industry is in distress is still in the consumer mindset. So we're finding with our research into travel price expectations, 58% are saying deals and discounts are going to be important to them for their near-term travel. But fortunately, we also see that the negative impacts of the pandemic are retreating from consumer mindset around travel. People seem largely done with just staying close to home. Over 70% of summer travelers plan to head out of state. And although car is still the predominant transportation method, as you know, air travel is back, something else you'll see in your visitor profile. 34.2% say they're getting on an airplane for their summer trips. The most desired attributes Americans want in their trip destinations: fun, memorable, exciting, sunny. These are all looking much more close to how they did before the pandemic. But what's most interesting is when we look at the absolute change in the importance of these attributes compared to what Americans reported last June, there was nearly a 20 percentage point decrease in the valuing of a destination being uncrowded. And Americans are also caring less about a destination being overly commercialized and peaceful and quiet as well. And with that, let's look at how tourism in Pinellas County is performing and at what point your destination is sitting on the road back to breaking records. So I'm going to recap Q1 of this year first, who visited and what was tourism's economic impact to the county. Just as a reminder of the methodology in this analysis, we designed this research plan and economic model. It's custom to Pinellas County. We at Destination Analyst began performing this analysis in 2017. One of the primary components is an ongoing in-person visitor survey that our team conducts at 17 sites and attractions around the county. In the first quarter of the year, we surveyed 1,305 tourists to Pinellas County. We also surveyed Pinellas County residents about hosting visiting friends and relatives. And we also use a variety of secondary data sources as inputs into our economic model, things like hotel and vacation rental room inventory, occupancy rates, tax receipts, etc. So here's the economic impact of tourism to Pinellas County in Q1 of 2021. Our model starts with estimating the number of visitors and visitor days. Pinellas County saw over 3.5 million visitors between January and March. The largest segment of the visitor volume are day trip visitors from the surrounding region. They comprise 1.3 million visitors, or 37% of all visitors. That's down 1% from the 2020 average, but still, it is still up, that proportion of day trip from 2019. Back in 2019, day trip was 26% of the overall visitor volume, but we'll hopefully continue to see the proportion go down and the overnight visitors rise up. 1.27 billion in direct spending was generated inside the county by visitors in Q1. Hotel guests who stayed overnight in commercial lodging in Pinellas County during their trip were responsible for 609 million of that visitor spending during the period, or 47.7% of the total. But that is up from 44.5% average in 2020. When we look at the distribution of visitor spending, or what we call share of wallet, lodging and restaurants represent the two largest spending categories. Of course, the tourism industry in Pinellas County generates more economic impact than just simply from direct visitor spending. There is indirect economic impact, such as hotels using local vendors, money that comes into a hotel that is distributed to its local employees as income that they then spend in the county. Those are the indirect effects. So when we add in induced and indirect effects, the total economic impact of tourism to Pinellas County in Q1 2021 amounted to $2.1 billion. And Pinellas County's tourism industry generated $82.9 million in tax revenues for government entities in Q1. Taxes directly generated by the visitor industry, these include revenues from the transient occupancy tax, sales taxes, and property taxes paid on lodging facilities. And in this first quarter of 2021, the travel and tourism industry globally began to show recovery from the COVID pandemic. Pinellas County really leading the rest of the country in terms of average hotel occupancy and in-market activity by visitors by March of this year. Pinellas County had a total of 3.5 million visitors between January and March, and as I shared, generating 2.1 billion. And we see that those percents are down. Visitor volume down 15%. So still recovering from the pandemic, but looking a lot better compared to last year. So who is it that visited the area in Q1 of this year? Demographically, the visitor looks like it is getting younger. We have more millennial and Gen X visitors represented in Q1 of this year compared to Q1 of 2020 and 2019. We also are showing higher average household incomes in Q1 of 2021 compared to 2019, the last benchmark of a normal year. Average household income at $111,000 this year. International composition still has not returned. Visitors continue to be likelier to be in-state travelers than they were in the past. Florida residents, 33.6% of visitors compared to them being 22.9% in Q1 of 2019. Overall, 66.4% of domestic visitors were out-of-state residents, but that is up from 50.8% shown in Q4 of 2020. And your top out-of-state markets remain the same: Ohio, Michigan.
Excuse me, Aaron.
New York.
Aaron, this is Leroy.
Yes.
We're having some slight audio issues. It's not the worst, but it is certainly distracting. We think it's on your end. Would you mind, could you try changing Wi-Fi networks? I know you have multiple on your side. Are you getting any alert on your side?
Let me try changing. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Sorry, I think there's a lot of great information, and it seems to be good, but then go bad, and I would hate for the presentation to suffer from that.
While she's doing that, can I ask you a question, Steve? I'll ask it.
Go ahead, Frank.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Aaron, you back with us?
Is it better? I'm so sorry.
Not really.
No, it's worse.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I will call in.
Yeah, it's
Let me
really,
see if
it's probably worse. It's just really faint over the phone, it
Okay,
sounds like.
I will call in.
Okay. Perhaps a perfect time for that question, Mayor. This is not my meeting. My apologies,
That's
Commissioner.
okay. No, that's fine. Appreciate it.
I think we ought to shoot Leroy. That's my question. All of this information is tremendous. I mean, I appreciate getting it. How are you utilizing it to make us more effective?
So we will take this information that we get from Destination Analyst as well as any of the other outlets. We share that with our agency partners. So they're seeing the same things that we are, and then we're using that to how can we go and refine message, refine market, any of the things there in terms of our advertising and our marketing. Leroy, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think the other big piece is for the industry. This data is available on our partner site, and we get pretty frequent requests. I actually got one from Lisa Chandler and Pier 60 recently, trying to understand who their customer is, right? So Pier 60 is one of our survey locations, and we're able to pull out those specific locations and say, okay, here is that demographic, here is that profile versus recently we provided the data to St. Pete Pier as well. The Chihuly reached out recently. So for the Chihuly to understand this is who exactly is my customer, because frankly, visitor intercept surveys, they provide a amount of data, but they're really expensive to perform. And so for us to be able to tell the Chihuly who is exactly walking into their attraction, that's a huge benefit to them. So certainly any of our survey locations can request. We can also take multiple locations within a city and roll that up into a specific request. So it's really our best tool to truly understand who that visitor is, who's coming.
So you have crosstabs that we never see.
Oh yes, yep. This is the high level roll up of the whole county,
Okay.
but all of the locations. I think she mentioned 17, and we obviously update and review that list of locations based on volume of surveys. Obviously, it's balanced, but we added in the St. Pete Pier and others.
My point is, it's great to have data, but if you're not utilizing it, then all it is data. And I just wanted to know how you were using it.
Yeah, it's a vital tool to what we do on a marketing side to truly understand. We have a number of other tools that can do to really understand volume from an origin perspective, but to really get as granular with understanding. And also, if we set out and we say we want to draw a more affluent customer, this is how we're going to measure that, right? With that average HHI, we can benchmark against this data, and we do from a certain standpoint as well.
Yep, Phil.
How many locations do you have throughout the county that you're doing these 1,300 surveys?
Yeah, I believe it's 17 locations. We want to make sure they're geographically diverse and also balanced from a number perspective. We don't want too many Dali surveys versus Pier 60 versus Tarpon Springs versus Dunedin, et cetera. So
You're never in a hotel lobby, though, are you?
yes, we are. We do a cross-section of different hotels as well, yes.
Wouldn't that seem to give you a higher report of people who are staying in hotels if you're using a hotel lobby versus somebody's front door for a visiting friend or relative?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, Erin's the expert here. Hopefully she has audio. This is a perfect question for her, and Erin could speak to this as well. The sample size for that period of time is really high. A lot of destinations, a lot of people, when you look at this type of research, would rely on 100 or 150. We bump it up even more.
Seemed kind of small to me, but what do I know?
Yeah, no, that's correct. A lot of destinations in America use just online surveys, having people look back, and yeah, sometimes only like a couple hundred for the whole quarter. So we feel that the program in Pinellas County. So, here's where I was telling you about the booking window. Pinellas County visitors in Q1, they were making the decision about to come there about 2 months in advance, but that is a 20-day shorter window than what they were doing in 2019. What drove the decision to visit the area in Q1, it's weather first, and then scenic beauty, and then beaches and having friends and family in the area. Let me get that moved forward for you. Okay, so what resources that they are using, they are looking at user-generated content and reviews websites like Yelp and TripAdvisor, online travel agencies like Expedia, the opinions of their friends and relatives, and social media, all the resources that you might expect. But it's really interesting because the online travel agencies and the opinions of their friends and relatives have made a comeback after dropping in 2020. 18.6% of your visitors are using the official Visit St. Pete Clearwater website as a planning resource before they arrive there. And looking at the details of their trips, about 60% of visitors arrive to the area by personal vehicle. 40% said they came by airline. This is a great indicator of the march back to normal. In Q4 of last year, 73.5% revised. It's better than what we were projecting. 19 levels this summer. And right now, primarily based on the lodging forecast for the fall and winter, hotel occupancy will be above 2020, but still below 2019, forecasting for fall and winter. For overall visitor volume, this is projected to be at 13.77 million for the year, and that's about 1.2 million above 2020. Total economic impact generated by tourism to Pinellas County is expected to be well above 2020 levels for the remainder of the year, still shy of 2019. Reaching that high benchmark of 2019 as of now looks like that's going to occur in 2022. But who knows? Things might be revised and look stronger. But the forecast right now is for 7.9 billion for the year. That's up from 6.4 billion that we were able to project last quarter, and that is up from 5.8 billion in 2020. Tourism tax collection, same story, well above 2020 levels, not quite reaching 2019, although this month and August look like they may break 2019 levels. Tax collections for the year projected to be at 301 million. That's up from what was initially projected, which was 236 million, and up from 219 million in 2020. Well, I'm sorry for the audio issues, but it was a pleasure to be able to present this to you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ooh, that was painful. I apologize.
Yeah, it was great information that we could hear. Do we have some, maybe a couple questions while we just maybe take advantage of Aaron being on board with us? Yeah, Russ.
I have a couple. I'd like to follow up on the mayor's question. And that is, do we see a chart, and we may, I'm asking, on seasonality, the changes of the demographic, ages and incomes and families and couples and all that stuff? Do we see a page at some point in the year or a prior year of the seasonality differences of the market?
We can create that for you to put it all on one view. That is, but you're exactly right. That's why we do look at this monthly and then by quarter, because it shifts. It shifts even by month to month, as you know. But yes, we can certainly put together a seasonality view over the last 2 or 3 years, kind of in one view.
And what we're doing at my hotel is we're looking at it and we're comparing to 19.
Mm-hmm.
We forgot 20. It's almost like we were closed for 2 months. So we're looking at 19, and that's what we're trying to beat, or hope to be in that market, about the numbers there versus 20. So we budgeted wrong, we budgeted low, and it's come out way above. So we think here's where we are, and where's that market? Where are they from? The demographics and the millenniums. That's what we're seeing too. The families and the younger is where it is. And I think that each of us in the room really would like to see a little more of that. And over 1 year, over a different year, I think is also a piece that could be added to this.
Certainly. So just if I may, you mentioned kind of the demographics, the origins, anything specific, anything else beyond kind of the high-level demographics in the origin markets?
Bookings, as far as what they're using, and is there any differences, different times of the year, and where they're from, transportation getting here.
Okay.
We look at it when you're showing me January, February, and March, the first quarter. But also, we look at it from middle of February, March, and April as my season. Then I look at the next one, and my dates are a little bit different than yours, who the customer is and when. January and February up to President's Weekend is more of a groups and everything you can get. The other is more the spring break families. That's how I look at it.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely put together a little bit more of a one-sheeter that gives you the opportunity to see the ebbs and flows by quarter or by year.
Yeah, Aaron, just real quickly on the comments that we've been doing here has been making comparisons really to after the first quarter for sure to 2019 instead of 2020. Going forward on your comments when you're making comparisons as far as numbers, not necessarily understanding the changes and what's causing them, but are you going to start using 19 numbers more in your presentations?
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry for the audio issues. I looked at that for this presentation because, of course, 19 is our benchmark of a normal good year. And just summarize some of the things I think you may have heard. We are seeing the trend from 19 that started and continued, that you are getting a younger visitor there in Pinellas County. It seems the average age has dropped, I think, almost over 3 years since 2018. And resources they use and things, that's now looking more normal to 2019. Again, the returning to online travel agencies like Expedia, starting to talk to their friends and family again. Those are things that, on the top of my head, that were interesting coming back to 2019.
So comparing year over year is one thing, and one of the comments that was made, I think, by Russ was about the seasonality differences within a year, and how do you see those changes occurring now versus, say, a year, 2 years ago?
Yes, and in the report there are infographic summaries that compare the same periods. but from 2020, 2019, and that's one thing about having such a robust research program that you do. Any of the things that you wanted to look at, like if you wanted to, change a season definition from February through April, that's very, very easy for us to do for you because there's enough data there to support that. So, Leroy, you just let me know what the commissioners would like, and we'll get them out those infographic sheets.
Just you mentioned something about more safety conscious. I am assuming that those comments were more the COVID pandemic related, but is it other safety issues that have cropped up, or is it all kind of relating to that? And is that now starting to wane?
I hope it does, Wayne. We just asked that question 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to guess that the pandemic, so health, catching a virus, is probably the most of that. But I think there are other things going on too, and it's just this hypervigilance about safety and one's own personal health that we didn't used to see so much in the consumer mindset. And so I just wanted to point out that that's there, and that's how they're looking, that's the lens of how they're viewing the experience. And, after this summer, when, again, a lot of people are coming out this summer, we'll ask them about their experience and see then how much maybe the safe, enjoyable experiences they had this summer makes that start to retreat.
Yeah, we just had obviously a lot that went on last year that was pandemic created perhaps, but we had a lot of other safety issues that cropped up during the year, and was wondering if there was any of that embedded in those numbers. So do you think it's more of the disease related than anything else?
That's what it looks like. Whenever we ask questions, the virus is still at the top. Okay. Right. Whenever we get into more detail. The other things I think are there, particularly depending on what your background is, but the virus still remains on top.
Thank you, Aaron. Yes, go ahead, Chuck.
Thank you.
Good morning, Aaron. Thank you so much. This is a lot of work and a lot of information. 2 questions for you. The first on the forecasts, I'm looking right now at the actual visitor spending versus bed tax collections. The first is, where do you go from actual data to forecast data? January, February, March, are those actuals, or is it January, February actuals, and then we go into projections? What numbers are reported here that are real?
We have actuals through March, so January, February, March is the actuals.
Okay, thank you. And the second question, when you look at direct visitor spending, we're below, essentially at 2018 levels or below it for the most part. But then when you go to bed tax, collected obviously is factual, but forecast, you just do better. So are people checking into their hotel and not spending like they used to for restaurants, or what are your... why are those two not necessarily correlating, in your opinion?
Okay. So you're comparing the total economic impact versus the tax collection? Direct
visitor spending in Pinellas County versus hotel tax collection projection for Pinellas County. So you've got them here in our hotels, but they're not necessarily spending what they used to for direct visitor spending.
And yeah, so the lodging, the lodging and the amount of people that we're staying overnight and length of stay is going to have the most impact on those numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Chuck, you get your question answered?
I don't know if there is an answer. I mean, this is a lot of data put into a model, so I don't think Aaron can probably dig out my answer, but I just note it's unusual that the bed tax, we're doing very well, and if you look at the orange line, we're above 2018. Once again, forget 20, but we're above 18. We're at or above 2019 on bed tax collected actual and forecast, but yet we're below it for 18 and 19 on actual direct spending. So it just didn't quite, the two charts didn't quite match up.
So they're coming, they're staying in, but they're not spending as much as what you're.
According to this
Yeah,
forecast.
that's what you're.
Yeah, which goes to overall sales tax revenue.
Aaron, do you have any further comment on that?
Right, yeah, so, yeah, just, and then in the tax, I think it's what you're saying, yes, because those tax collections include more than just the bed tax, so that's all the visitor spending. And so, yes, that's not quite at 2019 levels yet. But you beat 2019 in March, so we are interested to see what happens as lodging forecasts are revised as the weeks march on here.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. Yeah, I think the overall thought about other spending than just the hotel spending. Mike, did you have a comment?
Chairman Eggers, thank you. More of an observation for Aaron and Leroy to comment on. Back to the message on safety and security. I think we have to resist the urge to change the content of our messaging and our advertising, that we're open, it's great here, and certainly we want to get that message out, but we can't underestimate the importance of telling people we're still a very, very safe place to be, and we have protocols in place.
Certainly. Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, the underlying message is still very important on especially our digital channels where we've been really hammering that. There's no doubt, and I think the data speaks to that is, while there has been a lot of progress, that is still very top of mind and very relevant for a lot of people.
It is, and probably will be for, pick a number, 6 months from now, 9 months from now.
Certainly, and the reality is too, I mean, there is still a federal mandate for masks in airports, and so somebody flying here is going to be wearing a mask. Yeah. A lot of our largest hotel properties, anybody flagged, a lot of those properties still have mask mandates that are national. And so, if you're traveling, a mask is going to be with you for some time, and that speaks to some of that safety concern. Obviously, for us, because there is no county mandate, we are not necessarily saying mask up still, as we had been. But your point about safety and being a safe destination is definitely something that's a part of our messaging.
Great.
Thank you. And on that front, I mean, I think that's a good point, Mike, that if that's what the predominance of our hotels are going to continue doing in our places of business, because they still have that choice to do how. Yep. And I think that's been the difficulty of a lot of our business owners is how to do it, what to do, when to do, the whole thing as they transition and be safe but open up, kind of thing. So it's been difficult for our business owners. But I think as we go forward, somehow monitoring that change so that it is reflected accurately or honestly in our advertising, because at some point, there won't be any of that in our hotels, and there won't be any of that in our restaurants and stuff. But we're not there yet. If you go around now, you'll see a lot of people and a lot of the businesses still asking you to wear them. So,
I do know, Commissioner, to your point, and I haven't had an opportunity to connect with Kristen. She is here. St. Pete Chamber, I know, put out a survey to local businesses to get an understanding of what, as a local restaurant or bar, are you going to still require patrons to wear a mask? I don't know what that data is showing, and we were going to ping Robin and Amplify Clearwater as well to see if they were pushing similar surveys, because you're right, understanding that data and how the experience is for visitors is vital.
Any other questions for Erin before we let her go? Any final thoughts or comments, Erin, before we sign off?
Keep up the great work, and I will take care of any of the reporting needs that you have. Thank you, commissioners.
Yeah, she'll be.
Have a great rest of your meeting.
You'll be with us in August. Then is that the next time that?
It'll be Sorry. Yes, that sounds right.
Okay, so hopefully we'll see you in person in August.
Yeah.
Okay.
I look forward to it.
All right, have a good summer.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Okay, go ahead, Steve. We move on to,
Thank you, Commissioner. Leroy might as well be just staying right up there. He'll provide an update on digital, but also Mackenzie's going to join him to talk about communications.
At a lapse in what the agenda order was, getting my steps in. Good morning again. Digital and communications update. First, before we dive in, I do want to give a shout out to my team. Mackenzie Comer's here, and she's going to provide you an update. But you all see me every month generally, and you know me well. But definitely Ray, Tracy, Jeffrey, Jimmy, Eddie, and Mackenzie make up a lot of these efforts, all of these efforts, as well as our partnership with Miles Partnership, our digital agency, and we have 3 PR firms we contract with as well. And so a lot of the effort and the work that you see me covering is a product of the whole group, not just myself. So I do want to mention that. I'm trying the clicker here. It doesn't seem to be advancing. The pointer is working. Pete, any thoughts?
yeah, technology problem.
It is that kind of day. We'll just have you guys drive me for an, here we go. It is working. I wanted to start with a review of one of our digital assets. In February's digital report, we have a department report that we build every month, and it's sent out and also posted on our partner site. We detail monthly performance of all of our digital efforts. And in February, we did a kind of a deeper dive into one of our specific elements, and I'm going to expand on that here today in presentation form. As part of our $5.5 million digital media plan, we have a host of digital partners that we buy digital media through to promote our destination in a number of different ways. Some more traditional on the digital side, and some more creatively and more advanced. It runs the spectrum. I want to dive into Undertone, which is a particular provider we bought digital media from for the first time. And one thing that we often do on both sides of the house, not just digital but on traditional, is when we're buying media, how can we get bonus ads? How can we get additional insights to how the creative and the campaign is performing? Undertone gave us the opportunity to partner with System 1. So Undertone is working with System 1. System 1 is a research company that analyzes performance of a number of different things. In this case, our digital unit. This is the unit that we measured. So this runs, we buy media. We see all kinds of performance to this. This particular campaign drove more than 105,000 engagements. So you go to a website, this pops up, and you're like, man, I'm really bummed. Or you're like, wow, this destination looks awesome. Let me engage with this. So you can actually click on America's Best Beaches, the Beyond the Beaches, the pier and museums. We've got outdoor adventures. So this is the creative unit that we're actually serving up to somebody who hits our target demographics online. And this is what System 1, hired by Undertone, studied for us for free as part of our buy with them. And I wanted to share some of the details because it goes beyond just the click. We measure the click. We measure what people are doing after they engage with the unit. We measure how long they spend with the unit. But emotionally, what is the creative doing? What could we have done better? How do they feel when they see this? So again, buying the ad is important in marriage, speaking to kind of having the data and the research, right? You can have all of the data and the research in the world, but what are you going to do with it? In this case, understanding how can we make this unit better? If we lead with a different image, how does this change people's interaction with this actual digital unit? So again, System 1 is a very cutting edge digital research company, and they have a partnership with Undertone. What they do is they take that unit that you saw, and they go to 150 exposed respondents, and we're back into kind of like scale and the number of people we're surveying, but this is System 1's approach. 150 people, they force them to view that unit, and they say, and then they start asking them all these questions. How does this make you feel? And then on that degree, how does this make you feel, 1 to 10? You can see the people we were actually surveying, 25, 65, HHI 100 plus, and obviously interested in travel, and then also beach vacations. The results were incredible, and I think it speaks to the collaboration between not just what we're doing on the digital side, but taking the brand that BVK is putting forth and building creative units that are really making people react in a positive way. The pink column on the right are the results from viewing our unit. The one on the left is the standard. Those are the standard measurements, and you can see how much more lift, how better creatively the unit was performing that we put forward. I also asked them, so System 1 measures all kinds of different units, from consumer packaged goods, so think cereal to Huggies to destinations, all kinds of different products. And I said, okay, that's great, but I know that anytime somebody sees a travel ad, they're likely going to respond better than to a picture of travel than to Cheerios. It's just bottom line. People love to travel. So I did ask them for averages related to travel only. And those numbers are at the bottom. They're not the actual bar graphs. But so in the middle, it's actually all of their travel providers, 60%. On the far right, 56%. So even when indexing against travel only, we're grossly outperforming their travel only products. So again, just digging into this a little bit more, and I can move through it. I think it was astonishing, and they were blown away by the results. They almost never get these types of sales spikes for short term, and then the growth potential of a 5-star rating. Again, this is all based on emotional intensity and how people are feeling after they see the ad unaided, and then moving forward on these positive emotions. This is their chart, their fancy chart of kind of where most destination page grabbers fall. And you can see that right in the middle, and where ours is on the spectrum of that. Again, unaided brand recall. What we're trying to do is message people, and then later on, when you ask them, hey, which brand did you think this ad was for, without our name on it, they know us. And 54% of the time, and you can see we're more than 3x greater than that standard, and outperforming all of the destination averages.
And Leroy, when you say you're comparing to the standard, are you now comparing it to the one that you asked them for, as opposed to the one that they gave us initially?
Yeah, so looking at both, to be honest with you, this slide here specifically speaks to the standard, the 3.6x, okay. But down below you'll see the destination average is 48%. It's okay. Not quite 3.6x, but it is still. I
got it. I couldn't see it. So.
Yeah, it is down there, and again, an important for me understanding. Let's compare destination on destination here, not against maybe a consumer packaged good, which costs $4. Very different. This is really cool, in my opinion. So again, as they're seeing this ad and as they're being exposed to it, this is what people are saying. They're typing these in. Again, the green represents positivity and happiness. There are a couple negative comments, and nothing we can do per se if they don't like museums or if they're not a Florida fan. Maybe we look at that image because they thought there could be some gators in the swamp, as they say.
See, I knew there was another safety issue in there.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Everything else, though, so we're hitting the right notes. And so again, you hear me talk a lot about clicks, time spent with a unit, engagements. This is going 2 and 3, 4, 5 layers deeper, and that's why I wanted to bring it forward for you all to get a sneak peek into, again, the thoughtfulness that we're taking when we're looking at the performance of these units, not just from what I would say kind of a 30,000-foot level, but digging in deeper with our research partners and our vendors. So for this unit, really, that they said, great job, maybe a tweak here, but generally, kudos, you're outperforming all the averages and onward, upward. going to transition into just kind of some updates on programs on the digital media front. We did just launch relatively recently a buy with TripAdvisor. It's and you can see some of the spots here I've highlighted in screenshots. So as people are looking in this particular instance, they're showing Houston properties. Keep in mind, these ads are going to be contextually targeted. So while Houston may not seem like a comparable destination to ours, there was some type of behavior that happened prior to them looking at Houston hotels that said they have been interested in beach, and so we're serving that up. That runs through June with around 3 million impressions using units like this, and like this off to the left side as well, drives to a destination landing page highlighting a number of experiences and different items to encounter. The next one that we just recently launched, and I touched on this a couple months ago, that we were out looking for partners, co-op partners for this, is with Expedia. The units are on the right. This is actually hotels.com, a landing page takeover. So you can see creative there of St. Pete Beach, and you can click through and learn more on hotels.com. This is an Expedia placement, so very high quality, high impression. Again, St. Pete Beach, our #1 beach, imagery put forward there. And then even across Expedia's portfolio, this is Travelocity. You can see some of the early results. I got these early last week. After running for just 6 days, you can see some of the early returns on the program. Partners did have the opportunity to buy in at a modest rate, which was bought down by our participation. So certainly at the end of this program, we'll give you an update on how many room nights were driven and how many gross bookings. In my opinion, this is rubber hitting the road. This is really what we do, and why we build the brand of the destination is to drive these booking conversions. Digital marketing program-wide, obviously we track everything, and one of the big pieces we can do is tie back how much hotel revenue was driven from our digital media efforts. So since the beginning of the fiscal year, October 1, we've driven more than $72 million in hotel revenue. This is tracked as per Adara Impact. It's not a complete picture. It's not a perfect solution, but it does give us some indication of how our efforts are performing, and as well as some additional trends as far as how long it takes somebody to search and then book, or book and then travel. Also, another outlet that can tell us not who's traveling, but who's actually converting at a higher rate. So those who are 45 to 54 are actually indexing and improving and converting at a higher rate to us. That would tell me let's serve more ads to that age group to make sure we can continue to capitalize on that conversion rate. Adara can also give us some of the origin market data through their tool. It's not their bread and butter per se, but it is an indicator that we can utilize through this as well. This is a very important piece, and I'll continue to provide updates on what that true ROI is for every dollar we spend on the digital marketing front throughout the year. Important note, we have a 60-day look-back window. So even though I pulled this early last week, it hasn't necessarily fully been able to take advantage of to those that we served recently, because we take 60 days to see did they actually book and travel to the destination.
Leroy, on those numbers, since I'm kind of new to this group, but at 11.7 days from search to book and then book to arrival, about 37 days overall, seems really fast. Is that a big change from before, or is that normal?
Yeah, so that's going to be really short and speaks to the pandemic.
Short, that's
what we've seen during the pandemic and coming out of is really short and really long. And this is capturing, in my opinion, again, different tools are going to kind of give you different indicators. The DA data is going to give us that much longer window. This is, showing us that much shorter window, and that's the two extremes that we've seen kind of throughout. It's definitely something we'll continue to monitor, and speaks to how early we need to be on some instances. And again, this varies by channel, which makes it complex. On some channels, you're going to see a shorter booking window. On others, this is the aggregate. This is the overall. But it helps us understand what our planning needs to look like and to impact certain time periods.
It wouldn't have surprised me if that was just Florida, but it's showing all the other markets as well.
That's correct. This is taking into consideration all markets.
Oh, I'm sorry, Doreen, thank you.
So on Destination Analyst, they were showing 60 days
Yep.
from the booking window, from the decision to travel to the arrival date. So why is there such a...
Different tools. So that, and I would say both serve different purposes. So this is using actual online behavior. Those are people who are on the street telling us a particular thing. It could be, and again, different types of people that we're seeing digitally through these efforts. These are people we've actually, served media impressions to. That group, it doesn't mean that we actually, marketed to that group per se. Again, I think they both represent the two extremes that we've been seeing, both short windows and long windows. And I kind of mentioned this in passing. I think the research and data landscape is complex, and I think it's a puzzle that takes multiple pieces. And this is one piece, DA is one piece to bring it all together and kind of look and see how consistent. Arrivalist is another, and that's kind of my final slide here. What we're able to do on Arrivalist is see, again, tracking arrivals in destination from particular markets. And you guys often see origin data from Arrivalist that we bring forward. And we say, here's our top 10 markets. That's derived from Arrivalist. This is a little different take. What we can do is we can track the arrival lift by who we're spending media dollars with. So hang with me. We serve the majority of the ads against those who were tracking, who saw our advertising. Then we're actually able to see a controlled group who we did not market and track the lift, the change, the difference between the group who saw the ad and the group who didn't see the ad, and the difference in their behavior. Did they book and visit when we messaged them, or did they book and visit when we didn't message them? So we're able to say, okay, Sojourn, now they're a low funnel, they're going to be using really high contextual targeting. They're performing at a really, really positive 93% arrival lift. So 93% of the time, when we market somebody using Sojourn, they're going to book and convert versus those who are not marketing using that platform. It can get a little complex. You'll see a lot of the low funnel performers, an Expedia, VRBO, for instance, they're booking platforms, so that makes sense. But when we're really trying to make, again, decisions around who to spend money with, where is our media going to do the best work, this is data we look at to understand how those providers are performing. So these are all the providers we've bought digital media through this year. This is as part of the brand campaign. So overall, in totality, our advertising is converting people at a 55% rate higher than those who we do not market to. It's doing its job.
A question?
Yeah.
Do you see it anywhere on cancellation fees? Because it's kind of what's happening is there's no cancellation fees anymore. And so people are booking, canceling and flipping and everything else. Do you see anything in that direction when you look at this?
It's a really good point. A couple thoughts. One is Arrivalist is a great tool because it doesn't just it's not looking at a booking per se. It's actually tracking this guy, whether or not that phone shows up in destination. So it kind of, this particular data is, cancellations aren't clouding the data. But to your point, key data and STR have taken considerable effort through the past year and making sure the data that we get is not distorted by that. But there's no doubt, and we could ask DA if they have any destination analysts, if they have any other larger data that speaks to that, because certainly without change fees on flights and cancellation penalties, there's driving some consumer behavior there. It's not captured here and in the cancellations aren't showing up, for instance, in the data that I showed, but it's something we could track down for you.
Mr. Chair, Leroy, on that, so there was a vendor we were using previously for vacation rentals.
Yeah.
And that was an issue that we caught because it kept showing all these bookings, but yet we're like, wait a minute, this was a time when there wasn't supposed to be any bookings, and it turns out they weren't providing the cancellations. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Which is what motivated our switch from Air DNA to key data for vacation rental data, because of those cancellations and also owner used dates. Air DNA wasn't being able to back out owner used time, so it shows like it's occupied and there's economic impact. Well, it's the owners using it. They're not paying themselves. And so the key data is able to, the vacation rental data that we put forward to you all does pull out and factor in the cancellations and owner used periods. One final slide for me, the latest video production. We're not going to play these here today, but they are linked in the presentation. I always want to touch on what we're up to on the content side and the content production side. At the heart of a lot of our digital media is putting forth content to users on channels where they are, whether that's Facebook, YouTube, search, and our website. Since January 1st, and I was looking back, the last update I gave you all, it ran through January, up to January. We've seen 2.4 million views on YouTube. And again, I often think people forget about YouTube. When they talk social media, they often think just Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world behind Google. It's a huge opportunity and a place where people consume a lot of video and get a lot of inspiration. 3 of our latest videos we've rolled out is a Paso Grill community video, 7 reasons why St. Pete Beach is the #1 beach in America, and also a highlight of the new Cambria Hotel in Madeira Beach. You can also see some of the top performers since January 1st below, of highlighting the Van Gogh Alive exhibit, our Rise to Shine pledge that we put forward, and other experiences as well. So with that, mentioned Mackenzie Comer. She's here today to give a great, she is the heartbeat of our public relations efforts internally. Excited to have her back. She was out for a couple of months, welcoming little Margot to the world, her new daughter. And we'll turn it over to her to give an update on our latest media coverage updates.
Hi, welcome back.
Hi,
Good to
thanks
see
so
you.
much for having me. It's great to see everyone in person. Like Leroy mentioned, I was on maternity leave and I was pregnant last year, so I wasn't able to come to any in-person meetings. So it's great to see all of you here today.
Okay. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. So I'm thrilled to showcase some of our recent PR efforts. Obviously, this is just a snapshot of 2 of the initiatives we've been pitching locally and nationally. And I just wanted to give Steve a big shout out. He's basically had a Zoom interview with a local, national, print, or digital broadcast interview pretty much every day of the week, I'd say, since we started pitching Life's Rewards. So kudos to him. Sometimes he's got to throw on a jacket with maybe a polo on Saturday morning if it's early morning interview. So he's been doing great there. Story angles have certainly been really easy to come by since I've been back. I mean, since Super Bowl, we've just been hot with all of the local media coming to us, which has been really super. This is a big shift, kind of a 180 from maybe a year and a half ago. We weren't on their speed dials, but we are now. And so if there's ever something that they're interested in, we just get a quick call. So that's been really nice. This is just a quick highlight. So I'll be touching on National Travel and Tourism Week. I don't want to take Kristen's thunder, so I'll just be speaking to the media that we've had from that week, as well as Life's Rewards, which I know you're all very familiar with. And then we've also been showcasing the record-breaking visitation from March TDT. That will be kind of sprinkled in here as well. So this was put together last week, but we can go to the next slide. Oh, wait, that's me, sorry. So touching on National Travel and Tourism Week, I'll have them play the Good Day Orlando clip for you, and we can just see one of the syndicated pieces that came from a local station here, but it was broadcast throughout a few other stations.
week in Central Florida. It's the start of National Travel and Tourism Week.
And Florida businesses are celebrating the return of tourism. Visit Tampa Bay and Visit St. Pete Clearwater have teamed up with the U.S. Travel Association for the celebration. Tourism officials say business in Florida is starting to boom again, and some businesses even say that their sales are even better now than they have been in a long time.
We're definitely doing better than 2020, and in some cases, we are hearing of businesses that are doing better than 2019. And as I mentioned before, that was a record-breaking year.
Well, more events to celebrate Tourism Week are scheduled for this week over in the Tampa Bay area.
So National Travel and Tourism Week really gave us a great opportunity to kind of tee up those March visitation numbers, which have resulted in more interviews that Steve's been handling this past week. So that was just another talking point for him to speak to in addition to the other events that we were hosting, which I won't run through, but I know at the travel rally we held on Friday, that was the culmination of the entire week. We had 4 different broadcast stations out there. You know, there's only 6, 7 that would typically send out a camera. So having 4 cameras at an event is really spectacular. So we were really happy with the coverage that came from that. And then speaking to Life's Rewards, I'm going to have them play an ABC Action News clip as well, and then I'll talk about some of the other interviews.
Our Bay Area beach communities turned into a TV set. Production crews filming a brand new Amazon Prime series. And ABC Action News reporter Jasmine Stiles tonight takes you behind the scenes.
We certainly are an iconic location.
You can't miss the Pink Palace when you're en route to Sand and Sun.
Most people that come into the property have experienced it. They've seen it. They saw it on TV. They saw it in a magazine.
Now they'll get the chance to stream it. The hotel and several other area attractions will be featured in a new series on Amazon Prime.
You like art? Hiking? Museums?
This is the trailer for Life's Rewards, largely set inside the Don Cesar. It's the story of a young executive who loses his wealth and his clients to high-risk business deals. Now he has to live off a ridiculous amount of hotel points.
Enough to stay in that suite for 6 months.
But this series isn't the brainchild of a major Hollywood studio. It's a marketing campaign from Visit Florida, which partnered with Visit St. Pete Clearwater.
It's a really unique way to tell a story in a very subtle way about a destination.
Steve Hayes is the CEO of Visit St. Pete Clearwater. He took over this position a year after record tourism numbers and 90 days before the pandemic hit the U.S.
We lost 35,000 jobs in our county that are attributed to tourism. We lost $2 billion in direct spend in our communities because visitors weren't coming.
Now that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, the agency and Pinellas businesses hope this $700,000 film project could net what they lost and then some.
I'm most excited that the destination as a whole is going to be able to go into people's living rooms and paint the picture that we all know and love so much.
In Pinellas County, I'm Jasmine Stiles, ABC Action News.
So that was just one of about 50 different broadcast and digital hits that have come from Life's Rewards, which has really been nice. It's been multi-pronged. We started pitching this when we announced the series, and then we were able to pitch it again when it premiered last week. So we've just continued to have coverage rolling in. We have interviews slated for June once we have more figures on viewing and how it's been received. And then another really amazing piece came out yesterday in Skift, which is a leading publication for the travel industry. They share market insights to all hospitality industry professionals. So that's not up here today, but these are some of the other hits that we've had. Forbes did a story, and it culminated in 2.5 million advertising value thus far, which we continue to keep up to date and add to. And this is just some more of that coverage. Orlando Sentinel, 83 degrees. So we've really hit national, local, and regional with this piece, and it will continue to come out when we're able to share those figures. And that's all for me. So thank you guys so much for having me. Do you have any questions? Happy to answer anything.
Any questions? I think we're good.
Thank you so much. Good to see you.
As Kristen comes up to talk about National Travel and Tourism Week, I wanted to go through and mention on the PR value right now. I mean, Leroy, McKinsey, and our agency, NJF, are just killing it and getting stories placed out there. And the great part is, it's like if one goes, the next thing you get a call from someone else because they didn't get into it. So, and there's so many different great messages, and I think getting out the value of tourism and its impact, I think, has been critical. Doesn't matter where in our county it is, the fact that we're recovering and we're starting that process, I think it's good to get that information out. So, Kristen, there she comes.
All right. Good morning, everyone. For those of you I haven't met, I'm Kristen Corinne. I am on the Community and Brand Engagement team. I'm the Community Relations Manager. So I'm just here today to give a recap of National Travel and Tourism Week. So just like Mackenzie, I was out on maternity leave and I came back mid-March, and I knew that National Travel and Tourism Week was coming up. It was the first week of May. So I scheduled a call with Steve, Leroy, and Katie. Was a little bit nervous because we threw a lot of good ideas at the wall about the week. Wasn't sure what we'd land on, but I think what we came up with for the week, given some of the restrictions that we were under with COVID, we really had a full week of events. So Sunday we had our landmarks lit red. Tuesday, we had the inaugural Pineapple Cup with Visit Tampa Bay. Wednesday, we helped support the Tampa Bay beaches at their tourism luncheon. Thursday was a strategic planning webinar, and then we ended the week on a high note at PIE for a travel rally. So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about all of those events. So in collaboration with Visit Tampa Bay, we decided to ask our partners to light our local landmarks red in honor and celebration of National Travel and Tourism Week. Red is the color of hospitality. So we asked our partners to light their landmarks for the entire week. Last year we did just one day, and we felt like that wasn't enough. So here are the list of partners that lit their landmarks, and a huge thank you and shout out to Jimmy Fashner on our team for getting some beautiful pictures of our Pinellas County landmarks lit red. He had a busy weekend at Valspar and Sunscreen Film Festival that weekend, and then stayed up late Sunday night to take pictures, get them edited, loaded, and sent to Mackenzie to send out to media early that next morning. So huge shout out and thank you to Jimmy. And while I'm talking about Jimmy, I wanted to share this Facebook post. This is from Monday about the landmarks lit red. And this post performed exceptionally well. We had 531 shares on Facebook of this post. And I looked back at some of our previous posts over the past 2 weeks, and we'd get anywhere from 5 to maybe 200 shares. So to have 530 shares was really huge for us. And then here's just a couple more photos of the St. Pete Pier on your left, and then the Vinoy on your right, and then a screen grab of some of Mackenzie's efforts. This was an article that was shared on Patch and MSN. So, and as Steve teased a little bit at the last TDC meeting last month, we teamed up with Visit Tampa Bay to host the inaugural Pineapple Cup, the Battle of the Bay. This was something we actually wanted to do in 2020, but just like everything else, it was canceled and postponed to 2021. So this was really the joining of two organizations. We've never done anything like this before. It was a fun event to get to know each other, meet each other, spend a little bit more time together. And so we held this outside at the St. Pete Shuffleboard Club. We had Mayor Kreisman give a beautiful greeting and welcome to the group that morning. We also had the president and CEO of Visit Florida there, Dana Young. She stayed the entire time, and she actually presented the awards at the end of the day. I'm not sure if any of you have played shuffleboard or if it's been some time, but if you've ever been to the St. Pete Shuffleboard Club, we were in kind of the general area where there are 8 courts. So we played doubles. So there were 2 representatives from Visit St. Pete Clearwater and 2 representatives from Visit Tampa Bay playing each other. We did a 10-minute game, kept up with the score, and then at the end of that game, the Visit St. Pete Clearwater staff moved to the next court. So that way everyone got to play each other, everyone got to get to know each other. And so at the end of the game, we had the culmination of the scores was the grand prize, was the Pineapple Cup. As you can see the trophy there. And then we also had the highest scoring team and the lowest scoring team, which we called the E for Effort Award. So the highest scoring team was Leroy Bridges and Kayla Freeman. Leroy's a really good shuffleboard player. And fun fact about Leroy. And then the lowest scoring team was actually Santiago and Chris Minner. And so this is a picture of him accepting his award. He was a pretty good sport about it. And then the winner of the grand prize of the Pineapple Cup was Visit St. Pete Clearwater. We won by about 200 points, so we smoked them. And then this is our Visit St. Pete Clearwater team accepting the award. So again, a fun event. A thank you to the St. Pete Shuffleboard Club, Christine Page. She was just great to work with. And a huge thank you for Mayor Kreisman for spending a little bit tough time from his morning to come out and say hello to the group. So then Wednesday, I believe we saw most of you at the tourism luncheon, but we helped support the Tampa Bay Beaches Chamber. At their tourism luncheon, I asked Robin, kind of when she was planning the event, how we could help support the chamber in addition to, Steve being the keynote speaker. And Robin actually said she needed a temperature check. So we were happy to set up an umbrella stand. We had some extra Rise to Shine collateral materials that we gave out to partners. So we had some table clings, some extra masks, some extra buttons for staff to wear. So that was a great opportunity for us to distribute those, in addition to greeting everyone coming in, taking their temperatures. And then Steve was one of the keynote speakers at the luncheon. And then thanks to Katie Bridges' help, she put together some tourism information cards to highlight the value of tourism to our area for 2019 numbers, of course, because we wouldn't want to share the 2020 numbers. And then Thursday, we had a Visit St. Pete Clearwater Strategic Planning webinar. So this was a general overview of our strategic plan and our plans for the 5-year plan, that Robert Allen, the Vice President of HCP and Associates, presented. We had about 165 partners registered, and 82 attended the actual webinar. And then we culminated the week at St. Pete Clearwater International Airport. This was we ended on a high note. This was a really great event where we welcomed over 1,200 arriving visitors. It was essentially a large activation that we set up in the baggage claim area at the airport. So we had 3 different themes. We have 3 different umbrella stands with 3 different themes. So it was a beach theme, a Gulf Coast theme, and then an arts and culture theme. So at the Gulf Coast umbrella stand, we had 3 daughters giving out samples of some beer and also giving out the Gulf Coast passports and talking about our great craft beer scene. And then we had a arts and culture umbrella stand that we had Creative Pinellas, the Dolly Museum, and the Marine Arts Center there manning that stand. And a huge, huge thank you to Michelle and her team. They were just so great to work with. Michelle Routh with PIE. They were great. They were very hospitable, and she had the great idea of inviting her PIE pups, as you see pictured there. These are emotional support dogs that were just greeting families. And so it was, I'm not sure if this was just me, but personally being locked up last year, being pregnant, not being able to travel or go into an airport, to be fully vaccinated and at the rally, greeting visitors, thanking them for coming there, giving information. It was just a really great event, and we couldn't have done it without our chamber partners. So we invited all 13 of our Chamber of Commerce partners. We had 6 in attendance. So we had the Tarpon Springs Chamber, Palm Harbor, Amplify Clearwater, Safety Harbor, St. Pete Chamber, and the Tampa Bay Beaches Chamber in attendance. And just a huge thank you to our local chambers. They are such a vital role as far as servicing our visitors. We work so closely with them. We we work hard to get the visitors here, but once the visitors are here, it's the chambers who interact with them. So to incorporate the Chambers of Commerce into National Travel and Tourism Week was kind of just icing on the cake for us. So here's just some pictures of the event itself and our chamber partners there. And then, as Mackenzie mentioned, we did have 4 different media outlets covering the event. So we had News Channel 8, Channel 10, Fox 13, and Telemundo. So to the right was Steve doing an interview with News Channel 8, and on the left was an interview with Telemundo. Luckily, Jenny with the Dolly spoke Spanish, so she was able to jump in and do kind of an impromptu interview with Telemundo. But just a really great event, and we really ended the week on a high note. And then lastly, I did want to say a thank you to 2 of our staff members, Justin Leisure and Brandy Bolden on our team. For those of you who have, if you've ever met them or if you know them, they're wearing masks, but probably underneath those masks are smiles on their faces. They were so great to work with, and they really, National Travel and Tourism Week, what we did would not have been able to happen without them. And they were just coming off of a long weekend from being at Valspar all weekend, Sunscreen Film Festival. They were super busy. So when they volunteered to help, it was just, really great to have them. So huge thank you to our team. And Steve, do you have anything to add?
Yes, what a week. And what a celebration of this industry that we're all part of. That there's sometimes we are just grinning from ear to ear, and there's other times we're banging our heads because of things that happen. But it was great to celebrate that week. Kristen, I have this vision of what I wanted to do, and she was able with the staff to make that happen. And as I told her, I said next year we're going to have more things, because it is such an important week, and it really celebrates the frontline workers. It celebrates, all of those things. And on that, and she's got 2 pictures up there, we do have Justin and Brandy here, and if I could have them come forward. Now, this part they're not expecting. So, Justin and Brandy this spring have been, absolute troopers in dealing with the public as it related to Rise to Shine, and then all their efforts around National Travel and Tourism Week, and then other events that are going on. They have been knocking it out of the park. And so I wanted you guys to, if you have not met them, to be able to see them. Yay. So, and it was great seeing them involved at the airport. I think what we found out is we have a rising MC in our group. Justin did a great job of announcing the flights and hey, this is National Travel and Tourism Week. So now that I know that, there might be other opportunities for him to go through and do that. But Brandy, with her infectious smile and laugh and how she was helping everybody, that's what this is all about. So I wanted you all to meet them, to say thank you for the effort that they've had in this spring and really making sure tourism rocks. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning. We've heard both of your names quite a bit in the last couple of months, and so it's really great to meet both of you. And thank you for all your energy and your impact. And I've talked to so many people from chambers that participated in that, and really that like to do it more often than once a year. It really was enjoyable. It kind of brought home to them what all of the efforts are all about. People actually coming here and a chance to say thank you. So they were all about, let's do it more often. But thank you both for awesome work this year.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Russ.
I have to tell you, one of those 2 that are up there was also promoting at a race, NASCAR race 500 miles away one weekend, because I got to report back on it.
Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you both again, and thank you for this report. It's been great. Anything
Great.
else, Steve?
All right.
All right. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
All right. I have saved the best for last. And so can I have Katie Bridges come up and provide the advertising update. And again, I know there's a lot today that we're updating on, but there's just so many really good things that's happening right now as we climb out of this pandemic. So it's important to hear what we've got going on and then what we've got going forward too. So Katie, it's all yours.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So I just want to do a brief recap on our Rise to Shine safety campaign for spring. As I've mentioned, we ran two kind of campaigns at the same time. One was our Ultimate Beach Day Getaway that we started promoting January 25th, and we wrapped it up on April 30th, where we encouraged consumers to commit to the Rise to Shine pledge, and then they were entered into a sweepstakes for the Ultimate Beach Day Getaway. The pledge was really simple. We asked them to commit to masking up, spreading out, washing your hands, be patient and kind. We promoted it in radio, social, and broadcast TV, and created the pledge landing page at ultimatebeachday.com. At the end of the campaign on April 30th, we had over 33,775 unique entries. You could enter at least once a day, and so people were entering multiple times to increase their chances because they were really excited about committing to the pledge and getting here to St. Pete Clearwater. But we had over 33,000 unique entries, and we have a lucky winner who's scheduled to visit. She's been selected, and she's looking to plan her trip, so we're excited to work with her. And then the second part was our Do Right, Get Rewarded. And so this was our Sunshine Stewart Street team, AKA Brandy and Justin, who rewarded visitors in destination who are following appropriate safety protocols. They were located throughout the county from late February through mid-April. They were, on the hunt looking for people doing the right thing, and then they surprised them with a $25 gift card that could be spent at local businesses. That campaign was promoted in social and received widespread PR coverage. I shared a little bit of that with you guys a couple months ago with Washington Post, Fox News, Telemundo, New York Times, Axios, and several other publications secured through our PR agency for our Sunshine Stewart campaign. So great success with our spring campaign, and I really think that's kind of fueled some of the visitation that we're seeing now and the interest that we're seeing in this early summer. Here's an example. Here are a couple of our lucky. We gave out 600 gift cards, and this is a sampling of some of those lucky 600 recipients that were masking up and doing the right thing here in the destination in March. So next I wanted to share with you our plans for our summer-fall 2021 traditional media plan. So working with our advertising agency, BVK, and also with Leroy and Miles, our digital agency, we came together to put together this plan. So we wanted to develop a media plan that reaches our visitor prospects through a combination of top funnel advertising tactics and partnership strategies, generating increased levels of awareness, consumer engagement, and ultimately visitation to St. Pete Clearwater during summer-fall 2021. So looking at our custom market model index, which looks at a variety of factors for each market that we're looking to consider. So we look at our arrival list visitation data, we look at website sessions from those markets, visitor length of stay, and average daily rate for visitors from those markets. And so taking all the information we developed, honed in to determine these as our focus markets for summer and fall. So our developmental markets, average to above average VSPC market model index, are Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Nashville, and Atlanta. Now those aren't new markets. We've been in those markets. We've always been in those markets from a digital perspective, but we did start focusing on those in November. And it's important for us to continue to stay in those markets, to really grow them and make them good, viable markets here for the destination. And we're seeing that already with our arrival list trends, and also reports with PIE in Allegiant. So we did focus on a campaign with Allegiant on Indianapolis, Cincinnati, and Nashville, and just early reports are seeing that those markets are performing well over the 2019 time period for those markets with our campaign that we've been running. So seeing some good traction, and we want to continue to keep that up, to continue to develop those markets. So we'll be doing some advertising in May through October, and then also want to focus on our maintenance market. So the destination analyst data was interesting. It really showed that people are looking to get out of the state, and so that's also one of the reasons why we wanted to focus on some of those developmental markets. And I can tell you, I was traveled this weekend to Orlando, and I was able to play the license plate game. There are a lot of out-of-state visitors here in Florida already. So, but Florida is also still very important for us. It accounts for nearly a third of all of our annual arrivals in 2019. And so we continue to focus on Orlando, Jacksonville, and Fort Myers, Naples as our maintenance markets. And we'll be focusing on those a little bit later in the year for July to September to really spur some of those fall visitations that we'll hope to see. So next we want to look at what media can we use to reach that audience. And so we utilize MRI, which is, it refers to the advertising company Media Mark Research and Intelligence. And they have one of the largest consumer studies. It's called the Survey of the American Consumer. It can narrow down huge list of potential buyers to those most likely to respond to a message. So we utilize MRI to identify the media consumption habits of our target audience, which we call our vibrancy persona. So we look at adults 25 to 54, household incomes of 75,000 greater, and that does skew more than 100,000 when we look at the other combinations, other factors combined. Fun. They believe that life should be as much fun as possible. They seek out variety in everyday life. They are curious. They explore and learn more about new things. They have stimulating experiences. They like to travel to Florida on vacation, go to the beach, and they're interested in arts and culture. And so we utilize this as our makeup of our target audience to determine what do those people consume from a media perspective. And we can see that of that audience, of kind of the national audience, 12% or more of our audience are 12% more likely than the national average to read magazines. They're 18% more likely than the national average to listen to radio. They're 20% more likely than the national average to utilize digital. And they're 18% more likely than the national average to see outdoor, out-of-home advertising. So I did want to note, television is below average for overall consumption, but above average for specific programming and cable networks. So we'll hit on that here in a second. So our developmental markets, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Nashville, and Atlanta, will be running broadcast cable TV and radio, and also added to this campaign recently is our a streaming, working with Hulu, some digital television as well. So cable allows us to focus on zips that over-index against our target audience, limited waste, highest viewership network against our persona, so we can look at specific programs such as HGTV, Bravo, Comedy Central to know that that's where most of our audience consumes and watches TV. Radio helps extend our reach and allows for promotional extensions of the campaign. And we see that the highest indexing formats are NPR, adult contemporary, country, news talk, soft adult contemporary, and classic rock. So we will be running that campaign June to September, and we flight them to make the most of our budget. We'll do a week of TV, a week of radio, a week of TV, a week of radio, so that we're always on, but we're maximizing each of the different channels. Then we'll also do out-of-home digital billboards in those developmental markets. It allows us to focus on geographical areas that over-index against our target audience. There's a massive reach, limited waste, and messaging flexibility. We can change out the creative, instantly. And we'll get 94 million estimated impressions with that. That'll launch July to September. Each market, depending on kind of the budget, looking at 6 to 10 locations per market, and it's about 12-week per market. Then we have also included in our plan some print city lifestyle magazines. It'll be a full-page, four-color creative, premium ad positions, combined to deliver over 3 million impressions. The city and lifestyle publications offer a favorable index against our persona audience and allow us to target both arts and affluent travel audiences. And that'll run July to September, and that's a total of 16 issues. And then we're also partnering with M&I. They allow us to focus in on specific markets in national magazine titles. So you see here, Real Simple, Food and Wine, InStyle, HGTV. So these are, national magazine titles, but we're able to just focus. It doesn't have to be a national buy. We're able to focus in and place in those specific markets, the developmental markets. Over 3.4 million impressions, again, targeting both arts and affluent travel audiences. And that'll be August and September issues, total of 8 issues, 9 magazine titles. And then our maintenance markets, so Orlando, Jacksonville, and Fort Myers, and Naples. We have a broadcast radio campaign planned. It'll allow us to reach our audience, extend our reach, and allows for promotional extensions. Again, lower funnel price point driven messaging retail strategies. So we're taking a look at the creative, what we have running now and how we can improve it for messaging, for promoting bookings for this late summer, early fall. And again, focusing on those high indexing formats such as NPR, adult contemporary country. And we're looking at almost 30 million estimated radio impressions starting in July through September. And also including our out-of-home digital billboards. And this is really good because the billboards help support the radio campaign to extend the in-state retail strategy. Here we have over almost 43 million impressions. And again, this is a little bit later. It'll launch after July 4th. Getting that kind of Labor Day, September, October bookings here in the destination. And then we're really excited, our Gulf to Bay Destination magazine. We will be publicly releasing that next Thursday, May 27th. This year is a 108-page glossy magazine. We've expanded the culinary and outdoors coverage for this year and included the popular Best of St. Pete Clearwater spread in the magazine with votes from visitors and locals here about their favorite things in 30 different categories. Included in the magazine is our rollout poster and an area map. And this year we are working on right now an all-new digital guide so people can view the magazine, and it'll really give us a lot of analytics on the information that people are consuming within the magazine. What are they clicking on? And it'll give a lot more additional opportunities for the advertisers in the magazine. So we're really excited to debut that. And we'll have 500,000 copies will be distributed this year. 435,000 of those are newspaper inserts. I'll share that with you in a minute. Also distributed at AAA offices, the Visit Florida Welcome Centers, St. Pete Clearwater International Airport, and Tampa International Airport. And here on the right is a sneak peek at the new cover. So here's, I mentioned 435,000 newspaper inserts. So the first debut will be on June 6th, where we'll be distributing 51,500 copies in the New York Times and our in-state markets, Orlando, Daytona, Jacksonville, Sarasota, West Palm, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Fort Myers, Naples, Gainesville, Ocala. And then also focusing on the more local in-state papers. Our research shows that there's not much duplication between the New York Times and the in-state papers. So we've got the Orlando Sentinel, Tampa Bay Times, Miami Herald, South Florida Sun Sentinel, Florida Times Union, Sarasota Herald Tribune. Those are 159,000, and those will be June 13th. And then here in the fall, we have our newspaper insert program again in the New York Times, September 12th in those markets there, from Atlanta to Chicago to Minneapolis to Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, D.C., all those markets there. And then also focusing on Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And the goal for this is to get people excited to read about the destination, to hopefully book a trip for next winter. So that's our campaign for this summer, fall. It's about $3 million campaign with our traditional budget. So happy to take any questions that you guys have and look forward to coming back to you with a report on the campaign and the visitation that we get from it.
Thank you, Katie. Any questions? Great job. Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Steve?
Thank you, Katie. And it's so exciting to see, I mean, the things that we've done, but then I think the going forward part as well and getting that messages out. What's interesting is I was looking at the Destination Magazine distribution. If you remember right, last year is it dropped right after the beaches reopened. So what great timing at that point. I think, again, getting that message out. As far as update, from me on the key destination metrics, just waiting for the PowerPoint to come up on this one. And if you guys don't mind, if you guys could drive versus me, because I don't have the clicker, there we go. So what I try to do is take the items that are in your packet that number about 7 pages and boil it down to about 3, trying to hit the high point. So the first slide you have here is more of the destination metrics related to lodging. This is for March of 21. You're looking at hotel occupancy and ADR and vacation rental occupancy and ADR. These are the percent increases or decreases, but I did want to point this out. If we look at 2019 actual occupancy for hotels, it was 88%. And if we look at vacation rentals, it was 79%. Those dropped in March of 2020 down to 53% for hotel and 66% for vacation rentals. In 2021, it jumped up to 85%, so we were getting close to being equal with 2019. And on vacation rentals, we were at 88%, so we exceeded what we saw in 2019. The shaded yellow at the bottom looks at inland hotels versus beach hotels. And so again, well, on that, we look at inland would be anything that is east of the intercoastal across Pinellas County. The beach, then anything that's west of the intercoastal along the coastline. And you can see in this case, both hotels had increases in occupancy compared to March of 2020. On ADR, the inland hotels were down about 9%, where the beach hotels were up about 15%. And again, we'll continue to add in and share with 2019. I like Russ's analogy. It's like 2020, you still got to show it or talk about it to put it in the context of where we're coming from. But for us, looking at 2019 being that gold standard, because that was a record-breaking year. If we go to the next slide, please. This looks at the tourist development tax collections. So for March of 2021, we were up 95% over March of 2020. We were up 1.5% over March of 2019. Fiscal year to date, we're down 3.7%. The graph simply shows this. The black line that you see is the 2021 collections. The orange dashed line, dotted line, is 2020. And then of the 3 bar graphs, the one on each month that's to the right is 2019, in the middle is 2018, and to the left is 2017. So if you look at October, November, and December, and we've reported on this previously, we were at that point pretty close to equaling what we were seeing back in fiscal year 2017. By January and February, we were seeing where we were approximate to fiscal year 18. And in March of this year, not only did we exceed 2020, but we exceeded over 2019. So what'll be critical is to see the number that we get for April. And again, listening to our lodging friends here at the table, we've heard that it was a rather robust April as well. And so we'll see if that holds up, where we were over our 2019 numbers for the month of April. Next slide, please. This here looks at our top destinations, both fly and drive, and this is for the fiscal year, so this is since October. The markets that you see in blue show up both in our top fly markets, but also in our top drive markets. If it's green, then it's unique to that mode of transportation. So in the case of under fly, Philly, Boston, Cincinnati, Milwaukee, and Cleveland are all unique in fly because they don't show up in the top 10 under drive. And then you should see 2 asterisks under fly as well as 1 under drive. And that is where the market actually declined, had a decrease compared to the previous year. And in that case, New York and Boston under fly and New York under drive. But I think it's important to show this because, again, just based on what Katie showed you, shows these are some of the markets that we're already in and will continue to be in. There's also markets, it's like it was great seeing Minneapolis, St. Paul on here, especially since St. Pete Clearwater National Airport announced that we're going to get nonstop service on Sun Country going up there. So that's going to be great to add that. But again, you're seeing different markets there. And then next slide. This one looks at the profile of the visitor for March of 2021 and looks at various measures. If it's green, it basically means it was an increase over last year. If it was red, then it was a decrease over last year. So, and again, Russ, I heard what you said. I think a couple others might have mentioned as well. And we'll definitely go through and in the research look at comparisons to the previous time periods, because again, I think it's important to see where we've been to understand where we're at, and so again, we'll go through and share that. Next thing I have, unless there's any questions on the destination metrics, under elite events. Our workshop is scheduled for June 11th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in this room. The application period has closed. We have a total of 20 applicants for funds for next year. 6 events are fast track eligible. 10 are returning from previous funding cycles. There are 2 returning applications. In other words, they had previously been denied in other years, but they're coming back in. And it is under our budget, what we have for fiscal year 22. What I would love to have, I currently have 3 members on this committee. I need to have at least 3 more. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mayor. And Ms. Pletcher. Thank you. All right. We now have 6 members for that committee that will take place on that day. We'll review everything, and then everything will come back to this body, which then will make that vote on that, and then it will go to the BCC. That is from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Okay. All right. Still in search of 1 more. Okay. All right, Phil. Thank you. All right. June 11th in this room. And again, we've blocked out 4 hours. I don't think we will need all 4 of it, but it's just to be on the safe side. Okay. Strategic plan. We are in the process, we as in us, as in Visit St. Pete Clearwater and HCP, are in the process of sending out emails that you as TDC members will be receiving, and it'll be an invite to schedule a conversation with HCP. Right now it's being scheduled for an hour. It may not take an hour, but it's more of a conversation versus a set on a scale from 1 to 5, do you think something? This will be a conversation. And again, we've asked that they speak to each of the TDC members. If you don't receive something, and let's just say in the next 14 days, would you please reach out to me and let me know? Because again, this is very, very critical, and so we want to make sure everyone gets their chance to be able to give their vision of where they see tourism going in the next 5 years. And there will be a link, and it goes to an application where you can look at open schedules, so you'll know what works with you, and they'll get it scheduled and get the call set up. The next participation after that, and this would be for the public that's either here in the room or that's watching online, is we would open it up for online surveys. And again, that one's, we can do actually more. I mean, I think by the time you really get down to it, probably 1,500 people when we get to that aspect of it. But that'll be the online survey. And even what they hear from you and other people they're going to be interviewing, will kind of set the stage for the online interview questions as well. But that's the update where we are with the strategic plan. Under legislative update, I don't want to read through all 6 pages, but I did include, as part of your handouts, a tourism industry briefing from Destinations Florida. Destinations Florida is the statewide organization for CVBs, so they keep very in tune to what's happening up in Tallahassee. And so I've gone through and indicated what has transpired there that they were watching from a tourism perspective. So this isn't everything that's up there, it's things that are directly related to us. On there, the couple of the key ones under TDT expansion that failed. It passed in the House, but it was never being considered in the Senate. There was a Visit Florida under the sunset date that failed to get traction in the House this session. And it did not move, even though it was taken care of in the Senate. In talking with Dana, they're confident that, again, it'll come up next session, which will be starting in January, and they'll be working diligently on that. The Visit Florida budget, they were approved originally at $50 million. The governor then went through and requested they get additional dollars from the federal coronavirus state fiscal recovery fund. And so this coming year will have $75 million instead of the 50. So they're getting a little bit to where they were previously. What's important with that is that allows them to do a lot of things, both nationally but also internationally, of which we can piggyback on. And so it gives us a chance to work closer with them on some of the things that they were doing. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up dealt with vacation rentals. Under this topic, if my memory serves me correctly, it's been going on for like 6-7 years of bills being filed, and it just never seems to get over the hill or the hump, depending on where you are in Tallahassee. And it quickly stalled in the House. And it even it failed to make the Senate floor. So I assure you that it'll come up again next legislative session. The next one starts in January, so committee meetings and what have you will be starting in September. And the last thing I wanted to mention, and this is again, last month we thanked Mr. Satterfield for his time on the Tourist Development Council, so there is an open seat. That position has been advertised, and the application deadline is May 28th at 4 p.m. And on that, the appointment can be either a hotel or a tourism-related business. So that will be closed as of the 28th. They'll do all the necessary things to ensure that all the applicants met the standards and what have you. And then it should go to the BCC at the late June meeting, if I remember right. So, and Mr. Chair, that's all that I have.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Any closing comments from anybody like to bring up? Yes, Phil.
I think most everybody in the hospitality industry is experiencing a problem getting people to come back to work to the extent that we had before. I don't know if anything's being done or anything can be done to help Judge Governor DeSantis to lift the federal assistance. I know some states have refused it, and I don't know where we are on that. We'll have to touch on it, but I know that we're struggling to have enough help. We've been restricted by social distancing until recently, and now we're restricted by, I'm not going to understaff the boat and load up too many people and not get good service. So I think everybody's struggling with that in the hospitality industry, and anything we can do to eliminate that additional federal assistance will go a long way to getting people to come back to work. So,
Mr. Chair, I don't know where this is from the governor's standpoint. I can check with Brian and see if he can check the channels on where they're at with that.
you know, anything that can be done certainly couldn't hurt.
Yep.
I just want to congratulate Mike Williams and Tracy West on a dynamite golf tournament. I thought Valspar came off beautifully. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Steve, anything from you? Anything before we adjourn?
I think that's it. Again, thank you everyone for your time today and your service to this industry. It's great, I think as we said earlier, it's great to see people smiling. It's great to see people getting together, as evident by the gathering by the coffee pot earlier. So, and again, thank you. So
yeah.
That's it.
Okay, well, thank you. And we'll be back, I guess some of the committee will be back on June 11th, have our regular meeting next month, and,
Yep.
and so on. And we'll be here. Thank you. We're adjourned.